Okay, hi, good evening. I'm Dave Neufeld. This is the meeting of the Board of Appeals. This is a March meeting we're having tonight. It's been duly noticed. There are no public hearings on tonight. This is a work session and discussion and deliberations by the board of closed matters or matters that are not before it for public hearings. We have Meg Yergin is here, board, Greta is here, Greta Haney, Brian Gladstein, and Robin Kramer. Is Bob Stout on by any chance?
Yeah.
Yes, sir,
Oh.
I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Are you on video?
I'm not on video now.
Oh, so we can't smile at you. Okay. Well,
Oh, yeah.
we also have Robert Stout on as counsel. Okay. I'd also point out that we would just learned, to share with everybody, Meg will be leaving the board at the end of this month. So this will be her last meeting and we will miss her, Meg. And now we have tonight's meeting, the work session is going to be for a maximum of, it's an extra meeting and we called it, but I think it's important. We're going to end it by 9 o'clock. Okay. And there were 5 closed hearings. We'll try to get to many of them. There's a couple of other items as well, if we can. But what I'd like to do is try to just go in order to some of the items. If I take them out of order, I will, but I think we have a couple of closed items that that we have received resolutions on that we get voted on. And one is the application and granting of a permit to the automotive group. And that's at 1258 East Boston Post Road. I received that. I looked at, there's a 3-page resolution.
I'm sorry, Dave, did we get a revised resolution or is this still the original resolution?
I think this is revised, but I had one issue. I have one comment. I'm not sure I made.
It came out today, Robin. It was sent to us today.
I sent it this afternoon, Robin. This is the first draft. There has not been a previous draft of this.
There hasn't been.
I don't see it.
Well,
I don't see any resolutions today.
if you
Yeah,
look
they
at,
came late.
they came about 3, 4 o'clock, I think. Something like that. 2
I can
o'clock.
re-forward that to you now, Robin, if you'd like.
I see no resolutions. I'm now checking on the website and I not the website, but the
VOM.
VOM, and I see no resolutions having been sent.
What are
Robin,
you
I'm
Robin, you want
sending
to
it to
send
you
it?
now.
Okay, he'll send another copy. Okay. Tell us when you get it, Robin.
Oh, maybe this is it. I take it back.
Maybe this is it.
No,
Aha.
that's not it.
No, actually, I don't see Robin's name on Robert's email.
Okay.
It's good to know that.
Robert, would you care to explain that to us since you're not visually available now?
There is no explanation. I apologize, Robin. I am sending it
All
now.
right. I think, Robin, you'll accept the apology, I hope? All
We
right.
don't make a habit of it, probably.
It can be a conditional acceptance so long as
All
it
right.
doesn't happen again.
Subject to
Right,
feedback.
exactly.
There you go.
Well
Do you
said.
have Robin, do you have it now?
I'm gonna go look.
Okay.
It's on its way.
On its way.
It
Travels very quickly. Yeah, I have,
Revised draft. Yes, I see one revised draft. Is that all there were?
No, there were four
There's 4.
attachments to it.
I'm
This
looking to
resolution,
See if
there's
I've
the
got.
Waverly, there's this, and then there's 2 others.
Okay, well, I see.
so we're
Sorry,
talking
I'm-
about 1258.
Hold on, I'm looking to see what I've got since this website is off, since not the website, but the, oh, I see, show all 4 attachments. I see that
There you
now.
go. Okay, so why don't you open the one at hand?
Which one are we looking at first?
We are looking first at the automotive one.
The 1258 East Boston Post Road?
Right.
This is a red line based on our conversation at the last meeting.
I don't see any red.
I don't see the redlining on mine, but I hope,
Neither do
Uh,
I.
The red lines begin on page 2 of my draft.
There are
not
no
on
red
mine.
lines on mine.
why don't you tell me where your first red line is and I'll see if I have the new version and maybe the old one got killed in it. That's all right.
Sure, the first whereas clause that
On
carries
page 2.
over onto the top of page 2,
Right.
it changed adjacent dealerships to nearby dealerships.
Just 1 second.
Yeah,
Th- this
it's not,
was-
it's not in the line either.
This was done in track changes, so perhaps in the Word document, if you.
Yeah, that's
go
right,
to the-
but I'm trying to find the word.
I don't see the word.
I have the word
adjacent in this
nearby.
either.
The last
You
word
should
is
not
nearby.
see the word adjacent because I removed it.
Yeah.
I think if you go to the.
No, Robert,
track-
just one second, if I could. Is it the
Yeah.
one now that ends the nearby
Yes.
dealership? That's the current one.
It is.
That's the
yes.
revised. Okay,
Right.
so I think, Robin, I think what we all received, if we didn't get a red line, was the final one.
Okay,
It was a red line that was sent because I
I understand.
opened it from my email. I just think you have to click on show markup.
but you
Gotcha.
Just
can't do that in a PDF.
All right.
It's not in a PDF.
Oh, it's a Word. It doesn't have,
You can't use it in the browser. You'd have to
Alright.
download it probably.
I'm downloading it and trying to find it, so we'll
Okay.
see.
Do the rest of you have it?
Yeah,
But, okay, so the only question I had on this, and I'll go, Robin, you'll catch up with us easily, is on the first item, and I thought we had discussed this, but maybe, I know I'd raised it, but where it says the car dealership shall be capable of operating independently. I thought the issue was that it was going to operate independently, so capable.
Correct.
So
So
what I was gonna say was, did we not intend that the car dealership shall operate independently?
Correct. So the conversation at the last meeting was that number one was going to read, the car dealership shall be capable of operating independently. And then number three identifies each of the services and capabilities that have to be there. So read together, the obligation was that they should be capable and they must contain these elements that are identified in item 3.
That's how I remember our conversation. That originally was that it would act independently and we change it to it is capable of operating.
All right, so then the board's comfortable with the idea that it doesn't have to operate that way as long as it's capable of these elements, right?
No, the whereas the board finds that the proposed car dealership meets the special use permit criteria, provided that it operates at all times as a completely separate dealership.
Huh?
So it's a.
That's a variance.
That's a
We
whereas.
discussed this last time, so I think there's just a difference of opinion on the board. I know that we did discuss this last time, and some of us remember that Toyota did not make the claim that it would be independent, and that Brian made the point that even if it was it wasn't independent, if we put these conditions in, it helps to control the special permit. By giving him a special permit, we are controlling it. But I remember we discussed this and.
Yeah, I think though, the point is taken is not how we felt about it, but as Robin, I think correctly aptly puts out, that the whereas clause seems to be at variance with the conditions.
Well,
Is that what you're
David,
saying,
I would
Robin?
also point.
No,
David, I would also point
sorry,
out-
this is I have to find it again. It's,
Okay, because what
The way
the whereas
down.
clause says is the applicant also operates car dealerships which are separate and apart from the proposed car dealership. And that's what the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th whereas provides. So if you take that into the condition seems to back away from that. So I think,
David, I would also point out that there was a change in item 5 from the last draft. This was based on a comment that Robin made at the meeting, that the special permit renewal granted shall terminate upon any change in the use of premises, including any reduction in services and transactional capabilities referenced in item 2 above. That
Mhm.
cross-reference should actually be to item 3. I'll correct that. But
Okay.
Robin wanted to make it clear that the special use permit would terminate if those specific services and transactional capabilities went away at any
I'm
point.
just saying, but I guess my point, Rob, is don't you want to then, if the board is comfortable, the majority feels that it has to be capable of operating. Okay, I understand that. Then doesn't that whereas have to say, which are separate? All right, I guess not. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I find a little variance in that. Maybe I'm overly concerned. Because it says as one, it says it's capable of, and the other one says it shall, which operates separate and apart.
well, I mean, if
Tell me
you
where
wanted
that
to-
is, which page and which paragraph you're talking about, Dave?
The 5th whereas clause on the first page. I'm sorry, the 4th whereas. But I think it's fine. That's, you know. I know we discussed this and the general sense was that if it was capable of.
No, we specifically discussed the fact that it wasn't just capable of, but it was supposed to be operated as a separate one, which we say that the board finds that the car dealerships meet the special use permit, provided it operates as a completely separate dealership, which means that if it stops operating as a special dealership, we would not have been able to make these findings, or these findings would no longer be made. So I
Mhm, I'm
think
saying.
it's,
Where do you see that finding you just made to which you just made reference, please? I'm
okay, hold on. It's not a finding, it's a statement. It is
Ah.
the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th full whereas on the second page.
On the second page. Okay, I'm sorry.
Now, you're right. Now, you're right, though, that the first clause in the condition says capable, which is inconsistent with what I just said, provided that it operates, because capable is not the same as operates. So I think we need to change it to the car dealership shall operate independently.
Robin, the reason why that's in there is so that the board doesn't have any inconsistencies in its granting of special permits, because you already have Toyota City and its satellite across the street operating not independently.
What do you mean they're not operating independently? Are they dependent
They're
on
not
each other?
operating independently.
Are they dependent on each other?
I don't think so.
And if not, how are they not operating independently? I'm sorry, I'm confused.
Because if
by
they
this.
merge their operations, Robin, if they do things together, if they do, I suppose they could have contractual relations that would permit that.
No, no, no.
General-
Yeah, my question is, what was that Rob who just said, or Dennis?
No, no, I said it. I
Oh,
Brian.
said it.
Brian, there's 2 Toyota dealerships across the street. Now,
Yes.
do those existing 2 Toyota dealerships operate separately from each other, or do they not?
To my knowledge. they do.
I say they do not. They're
Yeah.
under common ownership. And if you go past it right now, you'll see that the building for the used cars
Yeah.
is just filled with storage.
Yeah.
So, the shell, I understand, really the technicalities of words and how they always have to be consistent. The shell was in there to resolve the fact that you're never really going to be able to enforce a completely independent dealership, which is right across the street from its common owner, because the employees are going to be employed by one owner. The stock, the transactions, their accounting, their functions are not going to be completely and separate, different things. And that's why we came up with number 5. And this is what you did to settle it with yourself. You came up with number 5 and saying here that, they do have to be able to do the items in, in number 2 and number 3, whatever. But we also said that if for any reason this thing is sold off, somebody has to go for a new permit. So that's the only reason.
Brian,
It's the only reason why there's shall in there is because it's unreasonable to think that with a common ownership that they're absolutely going to work independently. And if we don't put a special permit on this, then we have no structure, we have no rules, we have no parking.
Right.
I think this was the best of all evils.
Well, Brian, I just want to comment. I know when this came up last time, I felt differently, but I said I thought what you proposed was a realistic option that started with they have to be capable of doing it separate. But
Well,
there'll be some-
so.
But
if you
I
want
know,
to
I
say-
understand. I mean, and I did not feel that way, but I said, oh, all right. I mean, I went with that. That's fine. I don't know.
You could say will be capable, if you like that word better.
How about you put down this way? The car dealership is capable. Well, no, shall be is the same. I think, Robin, if they're gonna do it, if they're really gonna be overlapping, and I think they've indicated that, and that's why they wanted a separate permit, then it is a shall be. They've got to be capable of it.
I don't have a problem with the.
Okay.
It's fine. I don't.
I know what you're saying. I'd rather start stronger with my others, but I agree with you. Yeah.
fine.
All right,
It's fine.
is this consistent? Because I think we took a vote on this, did we
Oh,
not?
You did.
Can I say also, there's a small point I'm gonna make on 1, 2, 3, the fourth whereas on the first page. It says car dealerships across East Boston Post Road. There's only one across East Boston Post Road. The other one is on the same side of the Boston Post Road. It's across a street, but it's on the same side as this
Yeah,
new.
so the yes on the fourth whereas, Rob, the dealerships becomes dealership.
I will fix that and the cross-reference to item 3 below.
Well, it actually does, I mean, it operates, there's 2 special permits out there. It's just one is on, they're on straddling the Boston Post Road.
Right.
So it's not wrong to say that are plural dealerships. It's just to identify that they're both across on the East Boston Post Road. You maybe just say also operates 2 car dealerships in proximity to this location.
Yeah,
I don't know,
Okay.
Whatever.
proximity is good.
Well, I think across the street and next door is stronger if it tells you which ones, but whatever.
There's a street between the 2 lots, not really next door because it's across a.
All right, Rob, did we vote on this last month? My recollection, we
yes, you
did,
did.
right? All right,
Yep.
so
it
the
was,
only question
Robin,
is this
seconded by
consistent?
Greta.
Okay, we made our determination last month. Is this consistent with the decision that we wish to issue?
Looks
You're gonna
right to
take a-
me.
Okay, so I am gonna just take a quick vote on that.
Wait,
for the
what are we
record.
voting on,
We have
David?
already, I'm sorry?
What are we voting on?
We've already approved this. We did so on a vote. So now, and this happens now, it's been happening, it happens elsewhere, it's rather we now are just having the decision, which in essence is the rationale and the embellishment, if you wish, because we have to file the decision as well as a vote. A zoning board is obligated by state law not just to file its vote, but to file a vote and its decision for how it voted on. So we had gone over this, we've put it in. I would just like now to a vote on whether or not to make a motion on it, but whether or not this is consistent with our vote as this represents our decision. The actual determination has been made. We've approved the special permit. Is it, Rob, am I doing that right? Is that the
Yeah,
understanding?
that,
Yeah.
that's correct. So the
Okay.
motion is to confirm that it's consistent, inclusive of the 2 clarifications that we just
Right,
discussed.
okay. Is there such a motion? And I'll move it. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All right. Greta,
Yes.
Meg,
Yes.
Robin? Come back to you in a minute. Brian,
I said
Yes,
Did you not hear me?
I'm voting yes. No, did you vote?
I did.
Robin? Okay, what did you vote? Tell us your vote. It's not a
I
secret
said
ballot.
yes.
Okay, we're with you. I
yes.
couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. Okay. Let's go. The next step, the next resolution that we have that was prepared, and my recollection is we voted on, it was one second. Why do I always have the wrong? Here we go.
It's the Waverly. for
The Waverly, correct. Waverly
I'm sorry,
storage.
for the storage.
The storage one, okay. And that's the 306 Fayette Avenue Realty and New Waverly. Okay. I had some more drafting technical issues, but if you take a look, it's for my comments, just initially quickly on page 2. The second to the bottom, whereas outdoor storage is not permitted anywhere on the premises. See that?
yeah,
I would add, I would do 2 changes to that. I would add in the zoning district in which the premises are located. And I would move that up to where there's that gap underneath the whereas 2 above, where it says, whereas the proposed outdoor storage is the principal use being sought. And then the next thing would say, and whereas the outdoor storage is not permitted anywhere in the district as a use. Because I think those are the primary things. The other things flow.
makes sense.
Okay,
That's my only-
I have another one.
And then I had, okay, well, if you want, let me tell you the rest of mine and then I'll,
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
okay,
Sorry,
real
this is
quick.
what I'm
Then
reading
on the
now.
resolution on page 3, the application does not propose any storage within the existing building on the premises. I'm not sure I follow that as clearly. To me, the application does not propose any storage within the existing building on the premises, which will be used. Okay. I mean, you could put down the purpose of which is for maintenance and accessory activities to the material, or to the proposed outdoor storage. All right, so I guess that does it.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And then the drop down to zoning code 342-32A2 prohibits. Instead of saying the proposed use, I would just say the use of the premises for the proposed outdoor storage. I mean, I think this is very clear and finite. We're not trying to hurt them in terms of if they can get this variance or not another way. But I think it's just,
These are all clarifying points.
yeah, that's all. That's all my intent was. I'm sorry. So anyone else have comments, please? Robin, you started to say it.
Yeah, I
and
just
interrupted
have
you. I apologize.
one, and I think I saw this originally and didn't say anything, but the more I'm reading it again. So on the first page, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth remaining whereas, so the fifth whereas clause.
Read a couple words so we know what we.
So whereas to facilitate.
Right, the proposed outdoor storage.
That's
Right.
wrong. This is not facilitating. I think the appropriate way to read this would says, whereas by application dated
Yes, you're right.
October 6,
Very
2021,
good point.
the area applicants sought an area variance to not, I think the first to facilitate the outdoor storage should come out.
Yes.
And
I
it should
agree.
begin, by application dated blank, the applicant sought an area variance seeking relief to permit, allow, enable, any of those words, but it's not to facilitate. That means facilitate seems like it's making easier. We're saying that you can't do it. So they would need a variance in order to allow it. And that's what they asked for. They didn't say, well, we can do it, but this is making it easier. So I don't think it's to facilitate. Unless they use the word in their application, I wouldn't use the
What-
word here.
Why don't we try it a little different way? I think that's an excellent point on that one, but instead of to facilitate or that, and I agree with you on that, but isn't it really whereas in order to have outdoor storage on the premises, the applicant sought an area variance.
Right, but that's what it says. By application dated October, that's what I wanted to say. By
Yeah, but where do you say-
application
but you have
dated
to say- okay.
October 6th, the
Right.
applicant sought an area variance in order to permit or
Yes,
to
in order
allow.
to,
or some
in
other
order
word.
to utilize the outdoor premises for its storage.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Because that's really what it is. That's the heart of it. I don't want to hurt, go sideways with them. That's it. And then we find that you need it as useful. Okay.
Okay, I got that.
And then. Brian, Meg, anyone else?
No.
All right, we had, Rob, am I correct that we had voted on this last time?
Yes, you did. So you'd be voting on,
Okay, so the purpose of this vote is is a motion to confirm that the decision is consistent with the board's intention, issue its decision to support its vote.
as amended by this conversation.
Yeah, as contained tonight in this conversation. Correct, okay. Is there a motion on that?
I'll move.
Thank you. Second on that?
Second.
Okay, Meg,
Yes.
Greta,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Thank you. All right, the next is we have deliberations on closed hearings that we have proposed resolutions on, I believe. Let's just see if we have them. First one I have on is 911 Fairway, which is the generator on the site, on the house. Rob, I believe, yes, here it is. I have that. That's the application of Carol and Darren Campili.
Yes, it is.
Okay. This is the proposed resolution that came about as a result of our discussions and deliberations at the last meeting. Is that right, Rob?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Want to take a moment to just in case.
So this one we did not discuss, correct? We closed the hearing and that was as far as we got, correct?
No, we discussed it. We discussed the noise, the ambiance, the starting and the closing time, the testing times.
There was an extensive discussion about testing times.
I remember, okay, yes.
Remember that? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Robin, I feel good because that happens. Sometimes they do a little blend.
This public hearing had been closed at February 3rd, and
Yes.
at the first March meeting, you discussed it and asked me to draft this resolution.
Right. Has everyone had a chance to look at this?
I'm looking at it now.
Okay.
It'd be great, Rob, if we could get these resolutions several days in advance.
It's
I
usually
understand that. I apologize that that didn't happen this time.
Yeah, Charlie and I had discussed back when I was chair that we should get it at least a week in advance. We actually asked for more, and that was sort of what was agreed. So just giving you the time, I mean, I don't know whether you or Charlie is now going to be officially our counsel, but that's what we had, Charlie and I had discussed at least a week. We really wanted more. The board had wanted more. So if they wanted to review if we were doing, but at least a week is necessary for board members to have time to review.
I understand that.
Okay. Okay, well, some of us are finishing reading, or some of you are, anyone have any comments? Meantime, start with.
My first thing, which is really a kind of a threshold thing, I thought I had somewhere on here that the applicant verbally was asking for 4 feet as opposed to 3.5 feet. Now, I don't know whether or not Dennis remembers. Remember Dennis talking about the distance between the generator and the house and such. Dennis, if you're still listening,
Actually, Robin, wasn't that you that discussed the distance? Because there was that slight.
Idea to make it a little bit bigger in case
Right,
to come back to us in case it shifts over 6 inches or a few inches.
right.
Then the variance
Right.
0.5.
but then Dennis was talking, I think, about the size of the pad and how the size of the pad is really gonna fit this thing perfectly. So, I don't remember exactly whether or not we're talking about 3.5 feet or 4 feet.
Mhm.
Resolution says 3.5.
I think it was, but whatever.
Well, I am here if you need me.
Yes, Dennis, do you remember? Can she do this with 3.5 feet? Will it work?
Yeah, so that she changed it during the meeting, I believe, or the time just before the meeting started was asking for more space. And the generator pad is going to be keeping within pretty much the same size as the generator, maybe an inch or 1.5 inches larger around the generator than the actual generator itself.
So should this variance be for 3.5 feet or 4 feet to work?
So as I remember, we had 3.5 feet would work, and if the board felt that exposure was needed for sound, then it would have to be 4 feet if an area variance.
Oh, I thought that the unit came with an enclosure.
Well, there is an enclosure. There is an enclosure on the tower itself that's self-sustaining, and most municipalities don't require anything more. But if it arose where they would have to put up privacy lattice, something to shield it, block it, a fence, then they would need 4 feet. But putting up a single fence is not really part of I feel the zoning board. Anytime a fence goes up in the village, we don't go to the zoning board for the fence. So I think 3.5 feet would be fine for the placement and the pad. Utilities to remain behind the unit closest to the property, closest to the structure. So I think we're fine with 3.5 feet.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question.
Any other discussion on this?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things.
Please.
So whether we're going for 3.5 or 4 feet in the 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth line, in the fourth, whereas it
Right.
says it needs to say where 20 feet is required, because otherwise we're saying they've asked for 16 and a half, thereby requiring a 3.5 foot variance, but why? Why isn't
Yeah,
that?
okay, so you need to,
10
that's,
foot
Immediately
variance?
preceding
Needs
whereas
to say
clause.
where 20, so it should be approximately 16 and a half feet from the property line where 20 feet is required.
The immediately preceding whereas clause references the setback requirement. I can combine those into.
Oh,
one.
no, I'm sorry, I missed it. I just saw, okay,
Yeah.
never mind, then you don't have to. I think
you
I
know,
just
that
missed
fits,
it.
yeah, okay.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I missed it.
Right.
Okay, the next one. So we say in the next whereas that it's desirable from a fire safety perspective. Everything else in this sentence is a fact that we can determine based on looking at the plans or looking at the application. The fact that it is desirable from a fire safety perspective, we're making this statement as a given. We don't know that. There's no way that the only reason the members of the board know that is because Dennis told us that. So I think we need to say that whereas the building inspector has informed us that this is better, we have to know where we're getting from. This is not just a fact of life, not like a fact. You can't see it. It's better because Dennis knows his stuff and told us. So we need to say something about how we know this, I think. I don't think we can just sort of, it's like a conclusion we've made based on nothing.
Well, I think it's in the record during the discussion.
Then we should
Yeah.
say, and whereas the record shows that it's desirable.
Well, I think everything's based on the record though, Robin, otherwise we would be doing.
I
this.
have a problem with this.
Okay, which one do you have a problem with?
The statement and is desirable from a fire safety perspective. I don't know that. And it's only because Dennis said that. We're not saying it's, and nothing else is it, everything else is clear. Everything else is self-evident from the application. But
Okay,
the
so-
fact that it's desirable is an opinion. It's not a fact.
Okay.
Well,
Well, Robin,
Wait a second.
Robin, if I can, this generator is located in a place where fire services would be able to get to it right from the driveway, right there in the front of the
Then
house.
let's say that. My point
But-
is,
what-
we're just
Robin,
making this
Robin, one
general
second though.
statement. So,
But
and the
we're
reason we
making that
discussed
finding-
that is because Dennis told us, and that's fine. And I'm okay with saying something like, as indicated by the building inspector, or we can say it's better from a fire safety because of this reason. But I just don't like us making what looks like a conclusory statement about its fire safety better.
But
without
we
any-
are in essence saying that, I mean, somebody said it at the hearing, right, during a public hearing. And so
Dennis.
that was evidence. So I think to me, that's what you base it on. So you can put down existing language.
I have a problem with that. I'm sorry, but to me, you can't, nothing else is said like that. Everything
Well,
else.
everything, what was it? We shall avoid the need for, it avoids the need for an extensive new gas line placement? I don't know.
I'm giving you my opinion. You may all
Yeah.
disagree. I'm not sure that's, but
All right, all right.
not a
Can I
big
change
deal.
it to the
I'm not-
factual assertion that Brian pointed to, that it's easily accessible to fire services? in
Yeah,
addition?
if we say that,
Fine.
then I'm fine. I don't.
Yeah, I understand what Robin is saying. If she wants a little bit more justification for it, why not?
Robin, anything else?
Okay, yeah, on the, where are my notes? I made
Page.
notes. I made notes on this thing here that have all disappeared. Oh, no, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Sorry, I'm getting myself. Okay, so a couple of things on the next page, just I got some questions. Okay. So when we get to the following in regards, the benefits are number 2 under the whereas, so, with respect to the findings. Because the existing locating.
You read, wait, where are you on?
Number
What page?
2, number
Last
2
page,
on
number
the
2.
findings, page 2.
Yeah, page 2.
Okay, we have, so this says it will result in the need to extend the existing gas line. And my question is, so they'll extend the existing gas line. What's the big deal? Why is that a basis?
It
Why
makes
isn't that feasible? And the answer is it's not feasible because it's not as safe, it's costly, it's something, but it's not clear that just because you have to, there may have been reasons why extending the gas line is better than not extending it. The mere fact that you have to extend the gas line isn't the thing that says, like, because you have to extend the gas line,
All right,
you have to do it. It's the same kind of thing I'm saying. We're saying all these things, but we're not explaining them.
So
I
how
don't see why
Well,
extend.
why don't you just do this? Would you be more comfortable with if we had the second sentence? Because locating the emergency generator and then in this location is more, and then just go down is desirable from the fire safety perspective?
Or how about will result in the expense of needing to extend the existing gas line?
No, all I'm saying about this is.
What do you
the
propose,
fact-
Rob?
I'm not sure the answer is part of it. So I would say to extend, and look, there's the mere fact that someone has to extend a gas line.
I understand.
Isn't necessarily a bad thing. I don't know if it's a bad, I mean, presumably it's like the same thing with the fire safety. Why is it a bad thing? And so we're making a finding based on the fact that we're saying it's a bad thing. But why is it?
Part of my thinking, Robin, was that the applicant is requesting the area variance because they want to place it here so that they do not have to extend the gas line.
Right.
So if the question is it feasible to place it somewhere else where they do not have to extend the gas line? The answer is no. So therefore they need the area variance.
Then, but it is feasible. We don't usually go to, when we're trying to find if something's feasible, like when somebody's putting a second floor on, we say it's not feasible because they would have to go into the rear yard. They would have to do something, not just, it's not feasible because this is on top of. So that's what we seem to be saying here. It's not feasible because they'd have to extend the gas line. So it is feasible unless, because locating,
Well, how about if you simply said will require?
The point
What
is,
if you
it doesn't
said-
make it not feasible.
How about if you just put that will require extension of the gas line? So then it could be for cost, safety, whatever you want.
That's what I want to say. I mean, the mere fact that you have to extend it doesn't mean it's not feasible. It's not feasible because you shouldn't want, it's more dangerous.
Well,
I
it's not
assume, if you
feasible
extend the
without
gas line.
addition. It's not feasible without construction and extension of the gas line.
And that's fine. Then maybe that's okay.
So maybe you just go, will result in the need to, instead of result, will require the extension, the cost and extension of, or the extension of a gas line.
And that's fine, but just because it will result in extending it, that's fine. We get that. I'm okay with that, Dave. That's
Yeah, because
fine.
I think that's a result. Okay. Is
And then-
that all right? Something of that type? Rob?
Yep. I can incorporate that change.
Uh-huh.
Sure.
Okay, the last sentence of that paragraph says, a gasoline-powered portable generator, if used in lieu of I don't even understand the sentence. I don't know what a fixed location emergency generator is if it's not are
In
we
lieu of the
saying that?
proposed generator. How's that? In lieu of the proposed
Yes,
generator.
that would be better.
Right. Okay. I know what you're saying.
Um,
All right.
okay, number 3, the area
Bob,
variance.
that's
is
okay.
not-
That's what you meant, right?
What?
Yes, it is. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I meant.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Robin.
The area variance is not substantial considering its size and the existing location. The fact that the nearby HVAC equipment is nearby doesn't make this not substantial. And if it does, you'd have to explain that to me because I don't see that. I think it's not substantial considering its size.
Okay, so you
But-
want to take out and the existing?
Yeah, I don't see, unless someone else has a reason why they think we need to say this, but otherwise I don't see how that's relevant.
Well, I think it's relevant only from the standpoint it's not substantial and the area involved is already utilized for other utilities.
But it isn't.
It's
This
not.
is going out beyond it. The other
I
utilities don't
understand.
have
I
a
meant in proximity, but that's fine. I'm happy
It's
either way.
Parallel to it, but yeah, I can get rid of it.
And then the last sentence there says, the location of the emergency generator will be bounded by the existing sidewalk. I'm not sure what you mean. Are you trying to say that the front of where it is, why is that relevant to whether it's substantial or not? Again, the same question. I don't understand why these things are relevant.
I reference that because the sidewalk is closer to the property line than the proposed generator. So I just wanted to make the point that we weren't going any further beyond the bounds of existing development there.
Then you have to say that in a way that makes sense, because just bounded by the existing sidewalk seems irrelevant.
Maybe he can write that it will not impact or change the
Impair.
course of the existing
Sidewalk.
sidewalk.
Yeah, it will not impair the use or the egress and ingress.
It also, it won't change.
Won't alter. Fine.
It won't alter.
Any word
That's,
you want.
that's the key point I was trying to make.
Okay, Greta? Meg? Brian, anyone have any comments on this? All right, this we have not voted on. My memory serves me.
No,
We didn't have a resolution.
That's correct. Okay. All right, so then this is the proposed resolution. Is there someone who wants to make a motion on this resolution as modified and discussed?
I'll make a motion to approve it as
As discussed and amended. Yeah,
edited, amended, whatever word you want to use.
sure. Okay. All right. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, there's a second. Okay, Meg,
Yes.
Greta,
Yep.
Brian,
yes.
Robin,
Yes.
David, yes. Okay.
No, David, are we going to see this again as modified and then have another vote as to the?
No, I wasn't planning on, no, in the past,
Okay.
I know we didn't, I mean, I think this is,
Okay.
somebody
This is-
wants to, we can, but I think this is,
I
They're so
think
minor.
what it, yeah, these are minor.
plus any ambiguity is resolved by the record. And there's a tape of this meeting. I mean, this would control.
Yeah.
So if Rob would decide to give them a 45-foot, right of way and what have you. All right. So the next is 700 Baldwin, which is the expansion on the second floor, enlargement of the front entry. Did you all receive a resolution on that?
And just on that front entry part, David, that's not part of the variance request. It's really
Correct.
just the second floor that triggers it, yeah.
Right, I don't think it is.
On the first page, the fourth whereas, is that a typo?
Yeah, I didn't remember it being 0.6 feet either.
No,
So
it's a typo.
the first floor that's not being built on top of, the corner is 0.6 off the property line. I can share my screen and
Oh,
show
wow.
that.
Oh, from the property line.
That's for the property line that borders the I-95 in the back. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Does that affect the setback?
That's why it's non-conforming, because it was already built that close.
That part is pre-existing non-conforming. It's not
Right.
being touched.
Okay, okay.
I just didn't remember it being that small.
No, I don't remember that one at all.
Is there a way that I can share here? Brittany, do I have to be delegated?
We'll take your word for it. Existing.
You can refer to reliance upon Robin's resolution. 1325, 1675, okay. I'm just checking the application. Yeah.
Actually, Rob, maybe you can share your screen, because if I remember correctly, there was a bump out in back of the house for their kitchen, and that this addition was not going to be on top of that.
That's correct. It's not, but it's that bump out that creates that much closer setback.
Right, so then what is the actual variance for what we're doing now if what they're building is not actually going to be,
So
That
the actual
close to the
variance
property.
is a 16.75 foot variance, because this new second floor will be 13.25 feet from the property line.
okay, and that kitchen bump out is closer to the property line, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, my screen sharing is disabled, so I cannot share the plan.
Okay, we take a look at it. Anyone have any comments on it? Greta?
I think in terms of the substantial paragraph, I would add something to the effect that it's within the same footprint, but just,
Existing footprint.
yeah,
Yeah.
that we're not expanding the footprint.
Good point.
Okay, I've got a, sorry.
Don't we
Greta,
have that
done?
in whereas the first?
Oh, yeah, number one.
But we don't have it under the substantial, why it's not substantial.
Okay,
On the third whereas clause, you should either take out the little, line you've got 2 feet, you essentially say 30 feet, one with words and one with the symbol. So one of them should come
Okay.
out.
I think I stick with words elsewhere, so I'll stick with words here.
In the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th whereas clause, whereas the project complies with the building height requirements, which allow for a building height of up to 35 feet. And you need the word as after the comma.
Okay,
Then in the second, under the findings, the second finding says, it says because of the size of the lot and its current configuration, it's not the lot's configuration and the current configuration of the house or the configuration of the existing house. It's not the lot's configuration.
Anybody, Robin, you have more?
Yeah, I have one more thing.
Please.
Which has to do with the next whereas clause. Okay, first of all, it's sort of a little peculiar because it says while seeking 16.75 feet of relief is less substantial than the existing rear yard setback at 0.6 feet, but the 16.75 is the amount of relief and the 0.6 feet has to do with how close it is. So, and I think what we talked about really was the fact that because it was abutting I-95, that was why we were not concerned about the substantiality.
so here, should we acknowledge that it is substantial, but notwithstanding that, it's less substantial than 0.6 and it's located by 95? And
I
it's
think
within
that's
the
right.
existing footprint?
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Yep.
And then in the next line, you've just got a verb problem. It says the area variance is self-created by the applicant's proposal. It should be to construct, not to construction.
Yep.
Okay. Now, in the second, be it resolved, it says shall be constructed in compliance with the area variance. I'm not, shouldn't it be shall be constructed in compliance with this resolution or with the something like that? Because I'm not quite sure what we've defined. I don't know quite what area variance is. It's not a defined term, I don't believe. So I'm not sure
Maybe we
exactly what
just,
that means.
maybe we get rid of that and just say constructed in compliance with the, or in accordance with the application materials, so that they build.
And
what
define,
they're
and this
telling us they're gonna do.
resolution, and anything in this resolution. I mean, so that it's clear. But then again, the same thing, except for de minimis changes, again, which shall not change the area variance, but again, we have the definition, what is the area variance? So, because it's not a defined term. I mean, we use it a lot, but in other places I don't mind, but here it's a.
Well, yeah, what we're really saying, as long as they don't encroach any more than what is
Right.
permitted by this.
Right,
I think you also have just a technical thing in the second sentence where you say, expect for de minimis changes
Oh.
to the that.
it also, it shouldn't be expect, it should be accept.
Yeah, right.
That's what you were gonna say, Brian.
Except for de minimis changes to the project.
Right. Right.
Okay, I'll clean that language up. That's a bit messy.
Any other comments on this? Better, Meg?
Nope.
Brian? Robin?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, you want to make, anyone have a motion to make?
I'll move.
Moving for the adoption of the resolution is modified during the discussion of the meeting?
Yep.
Please clarify. Is there a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, Meg,
Yes.
Greta,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes,
okay, and it is approved. Okay.
I didn't see a resolution for Nona Corolla. 211 Mamaroneck Avenue.
They were not discussed. at
No,
last
they were
meeting.
not
They just
discussed.
Closed the hearing.
Let's take a quick look at that.
Oh,
well, we discussing it, we are discussing, it was on the agenda, wasn't it, as I recall?
yeah, I just didn't realize. I thought that we had already
yeah,
reached.
we have, at this point, we have the Palmer, and then we have the Raleigh Road and the 211 Mamaroneck. A pile of other things, and we have 35 minutes, so why don't we proceed with closed hearings? And I guess the first one is the, where is it? I have 397 Palmer is, yeah, March 18th, okay. That would be the first one here. That is the spa with the licensed massage. This is one that my recollection is that we discussed. The question came up as to whether 342.3B, which is the code section dealing with massage establishments, which provides in it that they shall be, and if they comply, they shall be getting a special permit. Special permit is a conditionally approved item. It is not like a variance. I think that what was brought up was, and there was a question that came up.
Can I interrupt you just for a moment?
By all means.
To disclose that in the past couple of weeks, the lawyer for the applicant has become a candidate endorsed by the Village of Mamaroneck Democratic Party, and that I am the chair of the Democratic Party in the Village of Mamaroneck. And as such, I will be working with him to support his candidacy. So I don't think that provides a conflict for me to continue with this application. I've discussed this with Rob, and I think he also agreed that there's not an issue with me continuing with this application, but I just want to get it out and disclose it before we proceed.
Right. I thought you mentioned it to me at some point. I certainly don't see a basis for it. I mean, you live in a small village and that's inherent. You have a relationship with the person. It's not a business relationship.
Good thing we're not in Nassau County where such a relationship would be a problem under state law.
In Nassau County?
Yep. Membership in a party is a basis for, not so since we are not, only applies in Nassau County, I don't know the reason for that.
Well, the reason for that is from 1970.
Yeah.
Mr. 1%, Margiotto.
So, sorry, not relevant since it doesn't apply here. I just.
Yeah, and I confirmed with David my thought that this is not a prohibited interest in a contract. So
Yeah.
it's appropriate to disclose it, but it does not preclude our participation.
All right. Okay, so I think just to go backwards a moment here, let me just see here. I have some notes here. So 342 does provide that the massage establishment must adhere to the requirements under Article 16, which is in addition to those that are enumerated. And those are the articles that relate to, they are 342, just give me 1 second. Okay. It's those are the 342, 108, those -112. Those are that's the section that deals with adult use district. It contains definitions in it, 342, 109, that it goes through, none of which relate to massage. It restricts where they can be and restricts them all to one district, and that's the manufacturing district, and also limits their proximity to others. I think basically if that were followed, it would eliminate and create problems with virtually all of the facilities that are licensed to give massage or that give massage. Many don't have to be licensed, as you may know, in the Village of Mamaroneck. There's an exclusion if they cut hair. So I guess if you cut hair and you give massages, then you're all right. You don't need a license for the massage. I'm not quite sure the logic, but so be it. However, the issues come up because this board recently and historically has never followed or never applied the other section and finding it inapplicable. I think so as a matter of precedent, that's been the precedent that we have followed, and that's been the existing permits have not complied with, have not followed that way. They have not imposed that. The board has never imposed. The board has the right under state law to involve itself in, it is the interpreter of the code in issues of this type. And implicit to it giving the permits that it gave under 342-3 was that it did not find the other sections applicable for various reasons. An issue was raised, I recall, about whether if this was a mistake not to have done, and if so, whether that would allow the board to change its position because it wouldn't be bound to precedent on that. There's some case authorities that we've seen that says, yeah, if there's been a mistake, you can do that. You have the right. I'll just take a shot at this because I've looked at this thing and I go, the board has the right to make an interpretation. Here it's following the plain language and the authorization. It is a conditional, it's a special permit, which unlike a variance has a right to it. There's a right to a special permit subject to the conditions. And by the plain language, it's inapplicable, and the attempt to invoke or to utilize all of the provisions of the adult use district literally conflict with the terms of the adult use district if you read it. So I'm assuming, and I look at this thing, that it's been determined in the prior board and all the decisions that it was not applicable. Now, I don't know that that's a mistake. I think it's, forget about meaning a mistake, that the board made a mistake in its opinion. I think that was the determination of the board. There's nothing I know of in the record here that points to any prior, or that points to the fact that it was an error of a board in the past. So I don't see this as a mistake. I see it as you've got here a situation where if you were to invoke all of the other section, you would virtually eliminate the use that's permitted by a special permit. And you would also be in conflict with at least a half a dozen existing facilities. And that would do that. So I don't follow that. I don't see that. I don't see any evidence that. Moreover, I think not only is there no mistake, but some of the cases, and I think I've seen a couple of them, but one of the cases in the Zello is, and then it's used by the Supreme Court in Westchester in another case, basically say, even if there was a mistake, let's assume there was, you have to show that by a rational and you've got to show, a rational and satisfactory explanation for why you would depart from the prior precedent. So even if you said, well, it might have been a mistake, then you'd have to actually find A, that there was a mistake, and B, that they should have applied a section of the code that they have not applied in the past, and that it was a mistake, and that it's proper and rational and satisfactory to now require it, which I think causes, I think is A, erroneous, and B, of course, raises the issues. And what do you do with the existing ones? What do you do when the renewals come up for the special permits on the existing ones? Say, hi, you've done your business, you've done well, you've complied with everything, but you can't continue it. And moreover, do you apply it only prospectively because of the change as opposed to the applicant? The general philosophy that when you change an approach to something, it should be prospective. So from my vantage point, anyway, from what I've seen and read, and I've read Nizella, I've read the underlying case and the Judge Meyer's case in the Court of Appeals, and then the Supreme Court case, it's like, I just don't see the foundation for the mistake, because if I was looking at this code today, I would say, well, that section can't apply. And I think, as has come up in the past many times, this seems to be a product of a poorly drafted code that basically involves and invokes conditions that cannot consist with the underlying purpose of the whole thing. You cannot have the licensed massage facility in an area if you apply it as an adult use code and treat it as a peep show, an adult theater, an adult drive-in theater, an adult bookstore, which are defined. They're all defined in there. So that's my initial comment, and I don't know if anyone else has
Can I ask
comments.
a
I'm sure we all do. But the question I'm going to pose now is, I'm almost thinking that rather than have a dialogue of all types, we might want to put a motion on and put something on the table so we have something to then argue.
Could I ask a question first, Dave? Just a question?
Yeah, as soon as I finish my sentence.
Have we resolved whether or not the majority of the board feels that this is a continuance of a use that was in existence in this non-conforming building? So I don't know.
We haven't.
That before, I'm sorry, before
I
we
said
get
no.
to considering the special permit and what we need to consider in whether or not we're going to grant the special permit, has the board fully decided on that situation?
And I said no. No, the
Well,
board.
I think that we could resolve that before we start to talk about.
Or, yeah, what I'm questioning is.
I would think that the one comes before we start to discuss whether or not we would want to grant the special permit and what are the considerations for granting the special permit. The first piece is is this a use that we should be considering for a special permit? Is this a continuance of something that was there when the code changed? And is this permitted in this non-conforming building?
Right. So what I'm saying is, I'm questioning is whether or not it's generally better to deliberate on if we put a resolution in a motion form and then deliberate on it, and then all of these issues come up, or we can just deal with the issues per se without the attachment to a resolution.
What, we don't. normally
Dave, I
do
would-
this.
I don't think we can have,
Just a second, Brian, I'm sorry, let's just try to keep some order. We're gonna move along. Brian.
Okay. I would like, because unfortunately, I'm the one who brought up that issue with the code. I think that's taking us off track here.
Okay.
I would like to actually go through the facts. And I believe the facts actually start because I rewatched the January 6th meeting with Robin, who with very, very good perception, point to 342-64B. And I think that that's also, if what I'm hearing is correct, that might be where Meg is going as well. Instead of looking at this from the code perspective of the adult use, the question is, factually, has there ever been a special use permit granted in this pre-existing non-conforming building? And if it hasn't, which I don't believe that there's any evidence showing that there was a special use permit in this particular building, then we have to look at 342-64 to see whether or not this is going to be an expansion of a use, or is it going to be harmonious with the surrounding area? I think that's really the crux of this
What is
entire
What section are
application.
you talking about, Brian? Could you direct us on that? You're talking about
So-
342, the non-conformity of existing use?
Yeah,
Non-conformity
non-conforming
of
use
use of building?
of buildings, and Robin
Buildings.
brought out,
So that's 364, 342-64, correct?
correct, and she brought out section A and section B. Section B is saying that a non-conforming use of a building shall not be changed to another non-conforming use except where approved by the Board of Appeals, after finding that the change will be to a less non-conforming use and one that will be more harmonious with the surrounding area.
Mhm.
And that has nothing to do with the adult use district. This is a non-conforming pre-existing structure that has residential houses on both sides of its parking lot. So if we are now going to grant something for a use that has never been granted before, I think we need to just deliberate on whether or not it's harmonious and whether or not it's less non-conforming than office or medical space. I think that's the pinpoint on this. It's just my opinion, but I really think we need to be going on the facts instead of having. I blew up the conversation last time with a question about the code, and I think we're getting pretty far afield when we're going with the entire code. I think that we just need to look as to whether or not this special use is in conformity with 342-64B.
I see what you're saying. I understand that. See, I think that, what do other members think on this? And in particular, I'd even go to Robert on this thing, but the non-conforming use of a building, as I understand, it, the non-conforming aspect to this building is that it's an office building, correct?
Correct.
My question to you is, I don't understand, I would not see it as if another licensed official use that was normally in an office building was going into that office building. I don't see that as a change of use. I see the use is not.
David, you don't have to grant a special permit if another office goes in there. That's the issue here.
Well, you don't have to, it's the granting of the special permit?
Yeah,
This,
because it's a special use. massage establishment is delegated as a special use. And your
But it's a
entire
special permitted
history,
use,
yeah,
but
it's
it's a permitted
permitted.
use.
It's
It's-
permitted, it's expressly permitted that we can have massage establishments in this village. But you have to have a special permit for it. So therefore, it's a different use than just an office space. You wouldn't need a permit for an office space. So here the board is actually going to have to grant a permit for a use that has never existed in this building. That's my point. I don't have a problem with a massage establishment.
What
But
happens if a use came into the building that was another type of use that had a special permit? I mean, it's a commercial, but you have a
Same
dry
thing.
clean. So if a building is vacant and a commercial space, and it's a prior, and it's a non-conforming prior, and it's got a, let's say it had a delicatessen in it, and now somebody wants to open up another use such as a dry cleaner, and they need a special permit for that.
I think that you have the right to grant it as long as it's more harmonious with the surrounding area and less non-conforming than the previous use.
I guess I don't see on the same footing, and this probably is more for Robin, I don't see on the footing the nature of the individual use and its authorization by special requirements with the actual fact that it's a commercial building and has had uses. In other words, I don't know if I'm being clear, probably not, but I'm saying, I think that the non-conforming aspect is this is a building, a commercial building located in a residential district, okay? But the internals of that aren't the non-conforming aspect. It's the fact that they are conforming. They conform to the non-conforming. So I don't see it as an enhancement or a decrease or a change because it's basically just the same edifice. It's the same structure. And special permits under New York law are as a matter of right, basically. They're not even, that they don't require the same standards for variances. But
I can understand that, but now you're putting a new use, a use that's never existed in a non-conforming pre-existing building.
yeah, but so if, in other words, if there was an accountant and there had never been an accountant in this building, would that be a problem?
It doesn't need a special use permit.
Okay, so it doesn't have to do with the use, it has to do with the special permit.
Yeah.
It has to do with the fact that the code is holding it to something different because certain uses, it requires a special permit and some it doesn't.
I don't, but I guess help me.
I'm
on this.
sorry, if I could just finish.
Yeah, of course you can.
I also wanted to raise the point that we know that in 2018, I think it was that we saw in the parcel history that there was a violation that there was some sort of massage service or massage establishment there that failed to get a special permit. That was several years ago. So I would say that legal consistent use of this building in that space has ceased in 2018, and it's been years that it has not been used in a legal way as in consistently. And once it ceases to use the same, the use is not 6 months, it loses its nonconformity. I understand there's something upstairs, but the downstairs has not been used consistently for more than 6 months for a legal use.
I guess my point is, if you take a look at B, and I don't know, maybe we could get counsel to chime in on this, but you look at B, or even I guess it's A, is a building structure of the use, which does not conform to the use regulations. I guess I was not aware, and I'm not following it, but I'm open to it, obviously, is does it constitute a change of use when the office personnel or someone inside changes, like to an accountant, as I said? I don't think it does. I think it's an office building. I think that if it's a dentist, it's the same thing. It's used for a dentist. And Brian, I think my difficulty with your approach is probably the strongest point is I don't see how a special permit alters use. It's just a requirement. So if they required accountants to have a special use or dentists to have it, and one dentist was leaving and one coming in. See, I don't see special permits as going to the use of the building. They go to the operation, but be that as
What's
it-
the use of the
Rob,
building?
do you know what I'm saying, Rob? Legally, I've never looked at this, but
Oh
Yeah.
my.
I don't, okay. Oh,
David, I think the distinction here that was mentioned
Yeah.
at some point was that this massage establishment that existed previously appears to have existed by virtue of the fact that it was considered a professional office with the required special use permit for the massage services element.
Yes,
okay.
but it didn't have a special permit.
right, it didn't have one.
All right, so now, okay, so now my thoughts on this, I
Please,
kind of
Rob.
am, okay, so the question is, what, if we start with what is this? Just not, let's go through this different in kind of in pieces. So the first thing is we have a non-conforming office building. That is the use of the building.
Right.
I do not think that there was ever an intent to say, and I don't think the code says that, oh, well, one office was vacant for 6 months and therefore you can't use that office, but you can use the rest of the building. I think as long as the building is being, you know, there's
Operated as a
under
commercial.
state law, it's the Toys R Us case, if you want to know, there's a Toys R Us case from probably the 80s or 90s, I don't remember, Toys R Us v. Silva, if you want the exact name, I don't have a site, but it was a Court of Appeals case, and the question had to do with when does something stop being a non-conforming use? Now, yes, it was in New York City, so it was using the terms of the New York City zoning resolution, which are different, but the question that was asked is, was the building no longer a non-conforming use? It was an 8-story building that had been used as a warehouse, and they wanted to change to a Toys R Us, and it was a residential district. And the question was it still a non-conforming warehouse? And if so, it could have been changed to a store. And what the question was the building, not was any floor, didn't look at it in a sense of, well, the 3rd floor hadn't been used. It was the building. The question had to do with the building. Was the building still a non-conforming use? And the court looked at whether and how do you determine if something is, when have you given up the right to use it? Under New York City code, it talks about substantially all. So in this case, it was only a piece and it wasn't substantially all still was used. So the question we would have is, if most of the building, since we still have an office building, if this was the only use in the building, that would be one thing, but it's not the only use in the building. So if the use of the building as a whole is no longer conforming, is no longer, if they've lost the non-conforming status for the building, not for a particular floor in the building or particular office in the building, then they've lost the non-conforming status. And if if it's more than a certain time, the question is, if we go, when do you lose it? And I don't know actually, but we could look at that. So I think the building, if somewhere in our code in determining the lapse, what is the lapse provision? There's a lapse provision in our code, which says if you haven't used it for a certain amount of time, you lose that right. So if the language of that doesn't say if any portion of the bill, if that provision says, and I don't know where that provision is right now, and there is one, for example,
64C, Robin. So
what?
342-64C.
Thank you. 342, let me go to, whoops, sorry, I had it, I'm closing 342-64C. If any non-conforming use of a building ceases for a continuous period or is changed, now it's talking about a building. It's any non-conforming use of a building. I don't think it's any non-conforming use of a portion of the building. It's the whole building, and the non-conforming use of this building has not changed, even if a portion of it has is vacant. Because clearly, if they were illegally operating, that is not considered a valid use. And therefore, I think, so in my view, this building is still an office building, and they could rent out any floor in the office building to another office use. So I think from that perspective, I have no issue that office use continues. This continues to be a non-permitted, a non-conforming building. Okay.
Right.
Second question, which is the one, Brian, I mean, because I raised it originally, but I wasn't 100% sure where I was. It's just things we had to look at. Okay, thinking about the question of whether or not the fact that it's a special permit is a different use. That's the question. So this is an office building. So the question then becomes, does the existence of a special use permit or the requirement of a special use permit make it a different use, or is it just the same use, i.e. office use, but you need particular findings? And since the theory of the special permit section, if I go to the special permit section is, and I can't find it. I know it's here and I had it open, but now I've had to.
34267.
Yeah, as I say, I had it open, but I had a lot of things open and now I've lost which ones I've had open. Too many things. 34267. So that should be here. Okay, let me. I think, I mean, the general, I don't think needing a special permit actively changes the use. I think it just sets up additional requirements for that use.
Right.
Although, on the other hand, there are certain uses, on the other hand, you could look at, I don't know the answer to the question, which is the question that I think we need to resolve. The next question is the existence of a special use make it a different use such that it is no longer an office use or a professional use? That's the
You have the
question.
building, they would deprive the building, so that if you rented
Well,
it.
wait, let me finish, David, but yes.
Yeah,
So,
fine.
because the question is it really just a set of findings and a particular way they're doing this, or is it really change the use from office slash professional? Does somebody have the C of O at hand for this building?
Yeah.
Okay, because I can't remember what exactly it was, but if the need for a special use permit changes it from being, let's say, assuming that it's a certificate of occupancy for office, if
It's
it
for a
does,
professional building. I have
I'm
it,
sorry?
Bobby. It's for a
Rob, what did
professional
you say?
building. Well, with the 1958 CO is for a professional building, and there's a 1994 CO for a ground floor alteration for a ground floor office.
Okay, so the question is, since a professional, this is a profession, so I would say from that perspective, it's clearly a profession. There's lots of things that are professions, including uses that are not permitted here at all. So profession, the fact that you need a special use permit, it's clearly a profession. And I think the question is, the fact that you have a special use permit, does it make it different from an office use? And I'm not sure it does. Hadn't really thought about it, because as I say, I raised it and then kind of got lost on other things on this. But I
Robin.
think that's the question.
Robin, take this, take it the other way. What if you have the village has the right to impose additional conditions to special permits when necessary and reasonable, and they've determined that. So what if there's at a doctor's office or some kind of a chiropractor's office, a doctor's office, a dentist needs a special permit? They could, because they're gonna have x-ray machines there. I used to live in a municipality where if you're gonna have an x-ray, you need a special permit. So the fact is, if you had that same use, but it was imposed a special permit. See, I agree with you. I don't see the special permit as something that creates a difference in a use of the building. But there are those that do.
Yeah, I just want to add that I agree with Brian's argument that 34264B is really the critical issue here. And I do think imposing a special permit makes it a different use. If it was really a comparable use, it wouldn't be before us. They would, lease to that business and we wouldn't know about it. But the fact that it's requiring a special permit makes it a different type of use. And then you look at the words of B, the change will be no less non-conforming and be more harmonious.
But it's not the individual units that are the harmonious. It's the building that's the non-conforming,
Well,
right?
it's talking about a change in use, and the building is having, that part of the building is having a change in use. No, of course, the code is not crystal clear. It never is. But it seems clear to me, the intent of the code, at least in my view, is that, when they have non-conforming uses, they want to get out of, they want to respect the pre-existing non-conforming uses, but then beyond that, they want to move to conforming uses. So that is why they would have this very strict language in B. So I don't see this new, I see this as a new use, and that it is certainly not less non-conforming and certainly not more harmonious. And it requires more bells and whistles. So it's not a comparable use to other professional uses. At least that's just
So
my.
you would go into, so therefore, am I correct in understanding? That's not, is that only based upon the need for a special permit, or would it apply to the substance of the use?
I think it could apply to the substance of the use, but the fact that there is a special permit makes it that much easier to come to the determination.
Or that much easier to catch?
You can, we keep
But
talking.
I mean, effectively, what you're saying is, if I want to make sure I understand you, is that if somebody were to, let's assume for the moment that there was no special permit requirement. And you began by saying that wouldn't even get to us. Well, it might not get to us, but wouldn't that allow, if I take your analysis, wouldn't that mean that would be, they couldn't occupy it? It would now go into each unit to see what they were doing as contrasted to it's an office building.
Well, it's up to the building department to enforce the code and to bring, violations.
I understand, but my point would be, from your standpoint, then, one could look legitimately into any use of that building, regardless of special permit or otherwise.
If the use changes, yeah. If the
I
use
guess
changes.
that's an inherent difference we have. I see, to me, it's the building. It would be, it's a commercial building. It's not a commercial building. If the use became more, that it was more than a commercial building, if, for example, it were to change its use so that it would add another feature that, be it a restaurant, be it I don't know, manufacturing thing. To
I
me,
don't
that's
see where-
we get into that, but I don't think you get into, otherwise zoning codes and villages get involved with who's in your room, who's sleeping with whom, who's in what room, how does this work? I mean, basically, you would say then that any commercial building that existed would have a limitation made. It'd have to be examined tenant by tenant. I understand your point.
When I read 34264, I don't see where it says that the building is non-conforming. I think it's very clear in the language. It talks about a non-conforming use of a building, the use of which does not conform.
How about section 8?
I'm sorry if I could finish. I know we keep talking about that the building is non-conforming. I think if the building was non-conforming, it would be about the yards or the setbacks or the height. This is referring to the non-conforming use of the building. I don't see anywhere where it says a non-conforming building. It doesn't refer to it that way. And I've seen plenty of what used to be commercial buildings get renovated and used for homes and townhomes and different kinds of loft areas. So it's the use that's inside it. I don't think that the building is non-conforming. It's how the building is being used. If they turned it into
So we'd have to
family.
go, so you'd have to go back then and see every use of every unit to see if they had lost their rights on that. How about section A? How does that work then?
A building or the use of which does not conform to the use regulation.
Well, this is the case.
Building, use regulations. But
This
again,
building- but wouldn't this building fit into the section A then? That's what I'm asking. I'm trying to understand your position. A building.
I'm looking at B, a non-conforming use of the building shall not be changed to a non-conforming use. So you're saying that because the building has existed previously, that any other, the uses that go on inside of it, we're not considering as long as they're professional, is what the argument that
Well,
you're.
I think so, because I think otherwise, it's, because I think B doesn't, I'm not sure B applies, because I'm not sure it's a non-conforming use. Robin pointed out once that if you're non-conforming existing, you're not non-conforming. You actually became conforming by virtue of that. See, so I don't think when you say under B, a
But
non-conforming
this
use,
is a
to me,
residential
that would be a
district.
case, if I may, Meg, to me, that would be a case of if I had a commercial building and inside it, I had an apartment or two. And I said, well, that's been historically there. Now, that's a non-conforming use within the building. But here, the building is a non-conforming structure, not the individual uses.
Okay, let's get to separate the difference. A non-conforming building is a building that does not comply with one or more of the bulk regulations. That is a non-conforming building. This
Okay,
is not, or maybe hasn't come up. We don't know if the building itself is non-conforming. It's not a non-conforming building, let's assume, because we haven't been told it is. So if it's not a non-conforming building. It is only about the non-conforming use of the building. Right? So let's we're going to clear language. It's not a non-conforming building, clearly understood, because the non-conforming building is one that does not comply with one or more bulk regulations. Here
Okay,
we
so-
have a non-conforming use of a building. That's what we have here. And as I said before, it's not non-conforming use of portions of the building. It's a non-conforming use of the building. It is an office building. That's what the certificate it is a professional building, and the first floor has a certificate of occupancy for an office, both of which are non-conforming uses in a residential district. Therefore, the building can remain forever, and they can rent it out
Okay,
to offices
right.
forever. And that's what they can do.
But we don't
But
have.
Robin, are you saying you view each tenancy or you view the building as it being a commercial building?
It's not a commercial building, David. It's an office.
Oh, it's an office. I'm saying, do you view each space?
I don't know what you mean by do you view. This is a
Okay,
building.
because I think
If
what
you
they're
have-
saying is if I
you
found on the-
if you vacate one of the, this is what I said
Right.
already.
Yeah,
I
if you
said,
vacate
just
one, it
because
does.
one office is vacant, you can still go back and rent it
Of
again.
course.
So the issue isn't per se, we know this is a non-conforming use. This building is a non-conforming use. It's an office building. That's what the building is. The question is that Brian was raising is really, and Greta was saying is, does the change to a use that requires a special permit, a change from what would be the existing non-conforming use as an office building? That's a question that I think is a question.
Okay, and Robin, let me go one step further, because the defect that I find in some of our, in at least, you know, with the attorney's representation in this, we keep talking about a masseuse being a licensed individual, being a professional, which is very, very, very true. But that's not what our code is regulating here. It's not regulating the person. It's regulating the type of business, because a massage establishment is differentiated from a doctor's office that provides massages, from some kind of a spa that provides it on the side, from a gym that provides it on the side. They all have professional masseuses. It's nothing to do with it. It's the business. A massage establishment is one which is you know, by the way this code is written, it's one that derives most of its income from massages, and therefore it's being controlled under our code as a use. Okay, so you know, when we say, hey, it's a professional building, hey, it's an office, and she's a professional or he's a professional because they have a professional license under Title VIII or whatever of the education, I don't care. Okay, I care about the use, not the person. It's got nothing to do with the person and their credentials. You could have all kinds of credentials. Our code is talking about regulating the use of a business which is primarily in the service of getting income from giving massages. So now, how is this, this is specifically a use, so how are we just putting this into a pre-existing non-conforming office building? So my question is, in addition to what you just said, Robin, my question is a massage establishment an office or a professional building? It's not.
That's the question. I agree. That's the question.
Yeah.
So I just went to look at section 34229, which is office districts. How does our code consider this? Does it consider a special use a separate use? And 34229A, permitted principal uses, number 2 under there. So it says, so A is permitted principal uses. The following are the only principal uses permitted in O1 office districts. And I know this is not an O1 office district, but I'm using this as a guide. Okay. And if you look at A2, it says executive, administrative, business, professional, and general office. That's a permitted principal use. And after that, it says this use is subject to the approval procedure set forth in Article 10, which is the special permit section, which says to me that the special permit is not a separate use, but it is a limitation or a set of restrictions on an executive, administrative, business, professional, and general office. So based on this, and again, I realize this is not an O1 district, it's just giving me some guidance as to because I was
What was
trying
the
to
section, Robin?
34229A. I was trying to see whether our code actually considered, in other words, if it had listed.
Yeah, I've been
Under-
looking too. Yeah.
But that's only, does it seem it only needs a special permit for those uses when it's in the O1 district? We've never enforced that when it was an office or professional use going outside into another district. It seems odd that it's only in the O1 district that they require a special permit, because I think there's been plenty. I don't think that the building department has sent us any other professional uses or businesses that are like in the C1
Not.
or located somewhere else.
Right, the C1 says nothing about, it just lists business, professional, and government offices as permitted.
Right, so
There's
so
no
I-
special permit required except in the O1. Agreed.
So this
Agreed.
one is
I was
not
just
about-
trying to get some
I'm sorry.
idea.
But this is about in this particular district. It looks
it's
like
not-
I'm sorry, it looks like almost everything needs a special permit in this special district. So it's not tied like into the defined terms. Oh, if you have a professional office or an administrative, that you need to get a special permit. It's not as defined as it is for a massage establishment, which is wherever it's going to land. We have some question about where it's supposed to land, but that seems to be tied to the use for sure. This seems to be tied to uses just in a particular district. So I think
I know,
that
as I say, I wasn't taking that as a rule. It was just trying to get some guidance on
Right,
is it
guide,
a
yeah,
separate use or
spirit of
not.
the law.
Not a,
Okay. I think we're gonna continue this, obviously, because I don't think we're gonna resolve this today. I would like, Rob, some of the issues that I don't know if the board would find helpful, but I think my recollection is that special permits, and to go back to that topic, are basically a matter of right, subject to compliance with certain conditions. Because they're special permits, they're deemed to be permissible uses. That's my.
Provided one meets the requirements set forth.
Right, but
Yes.
they're not deemed to be a variance from a use. They're deemed to be implicit. Okay. And the other is the question about whether or not the whole issue about the uses that Brown, Robin, and Meg have raised, I guess everybody's raised, and that is, I still have a little trouble with understanding. I'm looking at 4264, Robin. I'm just dealing with that. It's still difficult because I view it as, I think you said, Robin, it's a building and that's the use. It's not the
Agreed.
inside. I don't believe in an interpretation that would allow the building inspector or anyone else to go office to office
but
and
no,
say,
I
well, in
disagree.
1942, this was not used for this and therefore you're out of here. That's my view.
I'm not sure what you're saying. If I own an office building, but
Right.
not whether it's a conforming building or a non-conforming building, because that's really irrelevant.
Okay,
My certificate of occupancy says this use, and I'm the building inspector, and I go into a building and there's a use that's not permitted. I can go into a particular office in the building and say, or particular room in the building and say, this
With a warrant.
office, this use isn't permitted under your certificate of occupancy. This use isn't permitted under the zoning code of a particular office. Of course, the building inspector can do that, always can. So I'm not sure that I
not
understand why
sure,
you have
yeah.
an issue with that. That's clearly right. That's not relevant, I don't think, here to the question. The question here is whether or not it's the use of the building. This is a professional office.
that's
This
what
is
I'm
a
referring to, right?
slash
This is,
office building. And the question then becomes whether or not the existence of a special use permit and the requirement that you have a special use permit for a massage establishment makes it not an office or professional use. If it does, then it is not a continued use and we'd be under B or
right, so
I
I think you're right. That's the way it's been framed.
but
I
it
think
wouldn't
you're
be,
right.
it wouldn't
The
be a
issue is whether or not the
continuation.
special.
And if it
the-
is not a separate use, if it is just a limitation on the use, then it is a continued use. Then it would be, were we to grant, if we grant the special permit, it would be a continued use. So I think that's the question, but there's clearly the building, it's an office professional building. It's not a, and the building inspector can go into each unit. Always. I
Well,
mean,
I don't know about that, but okay. I'm not sure. They can't go to houses. I think they,
I wonder if it'd be helpful if there's any legislative history around this section 342-64.
I think the area to look at is the question about the special permit, because I think, Brian, that seems to be a significant point of yours, and that is whether or not the imposition of a special permit has a fundamental change of the use.
right, that's the
I mean,
question.
that's why I said about an accountant versus that. To me, that's, I think, Rob, maybe you could look at that for us. Any case authority on that?
Sure, we can drill down on that.
Yeah, see if you have, okay.
Yeah, just basically looking, to see whether or not this use is considered consistent with professional and office. That's where the clarity needs to be.
Okay, the hour is now past what I said we would remain. It's now 9:17. I have 5 minutes of other items, so unless there's a different feeling on the board, I'd like to just address 3 small items. And I think we will continue this. Is that all right, or?
Yeah, that's good.
I'm fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
All right, couple of quick items. Very briefly, the number of matters on the board, I think we're gonna hold those. Brittany, we have how many now applications?
For April so far, we have 5 public hearings.
And that includes the Flagler, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I think Rob, I don't know what you were holding them to. We used to hold them to between 5 and 7.
We had it at 6. We were doing 6.
6? All right, so let's hold it at 6 then, Brittany, okay?
Okay.
So you have one more and then the next one goes over.
Okay.
That's fine. And with regard to 416 Waverly, that's the status of the FEIS. I just want to report on this. There was originally requests for informations made and both in writing on October 6th from the consultant to AKRF, as well as comments on October 7th and November 16th. There was a letter from council on January 11th pointing out the additional. The applicant's council responded the same day on January 11, in a letter that I think you've all seen. At which point,
Ashley into this. I thought we were going to bring Ashley in.
I'm sorry.
I thought
I sent
Ashley
her a
was gonna join
note.
us.
I sent her a text a moment ago. She might be getting on.
Yeah, oh, I wasn't planning on having a discussion about this now at 9:20, starting it, but I just want to get to the point I want to make is that, so we had asked the applicant to make a submission if they wanted to, then they said they would make it by March. On February 2, I guess there was a further writing. And then now the applicant has indicated that they, as of March 14th, the applicant has told our council that they're expected to try to submit the papers so that they can be on for the April meeting. I think we're gonna have a full house in April. I'd rather get this material when we get it. We've been waiting months and months for it. And I think when we get the materials, we'll put it on for the next meeting or have a special meeting in May. Or in April could be. But I really don't see how we can just add this to a whole pile of, we're gonna be getting the materials in. I think we should get the materials in, examine it, look at it, and then decide how we want to go. We'll have various options then. Finalize the FEIS, or if we're not happy, do it ourselves because it's our responsibility. So I was gonna just say, unless there was other feelings, I just don't see how you're gonna do 5 hearings at Flagler and deal with this and also the other at the next meeting. And for 3 months, we've been waiting for this for months. So I think if they get it to us, they'll get it to us. Hopefully they'll get it to us on time and we'll be able to respond. Ashley, do you have any comment on this or?
Yes, the planner for the applicant did reach out to me at the end of last week saying that he had the draft chapters ready to resubmit and was just wanting clarity on the number of copies that should be provided. I presume based on the last few meetings that you all want hard copies
That is correct.
of the document, and
That
you
is
would
correct.
prefer to have it as a red line as opposed to the clean copy so you can see where the changes were made.
Robin? Brian?
One is a red
Do it.
line. Yes, we want to see the changes.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely want to see the red line and I would like more time because
Yeah.
I went through the entire November meeting. We had a lot of questions.
Yeah.
There was a
Yeah, I
lot
think
of
we should, so
questions.
why don't we get it? Hopefully they'll get it to us. They said they're gonna get it to us like what, next week?
Maybe
Um,
we need to have a special meeting just to do that. This is what.
I said, yeah,
we
I
did
said that
originally
earlier, that
have a
once we
special
get it,
meeting for that.
I'm sorry.
I mean, when we did it last year, last January, we had a special meeting for it. I think it was January, maybe February, early
Mhm.
last year. And I think you got to do it as a special meeting because it takes a lot of time.
I had said that when we get the material, I don't think we can call a meeting. We've been asking for this. It was supposed to be for months. So I mean, if we had a special meeting every month, we would be sitting around. So I think when we get it, and I'm expecting that we will get it, based on what Ashley just said this coming week, that's fine. And we'll either put it on for the May meeting or we'll try to have a special meeting. But I think I want to just have it handed to us, and as Brian correctly said, and go from there.
Their counsel sent an email to Charlie today saying they would submit on 3/17.
Yeah.
So that's days away.
We had asked for it in November, December, January, and then they said they were gonna get it. I understand.
Robert, 3/17 is the deadline for the 4/7 meeting, so they're probably assuming that they're gonna be able to make the April 7th meeting. So I think it would just need to be clarified, even if they bring it in on the 17th, they're still gonna be pushed to the May meeting.
We'll reach out and make.
Well,
that
they're gonna be
clarification.
pushed. That's all right. The council will take care of that.
Right, but they may be pushed to have their own special meeting, which I would think would be
Right.
preferable for them.
I would think it's probably good, but let's see what they give us and the reaction we have to it. And then we can, I think it's hard to discuss because I know at planned meetings in advance, other special meetings for this, actually, at one point, this was to be the meeting, but I think we've never gotten the materials and so when we get them, we'll have them, we can assess them. I'll check with the members and get schedules, and we certainly want to move it along. And we have some decisions as to make. I'm also advised that Mr. Tickert has filed an appeal with the appellate division from the decision of the Supreme Court. Unbeknownst to me until recently, they have apparently assigned new counsel to us. It is now Charlie and Rob's firm. And I'll be speaking to the attorney handling this, and I anticipate I'll be getting a draft of the brief, which is being drafted. I've not seen that circulate that, so everybody has an opportunity to look at that. If they have any comments, make sure that reflects our positions as was determined, not as our positions are, but the position as was set forth in the determination, which is the subject of the action. That being the case, and then we can email that to everybody, and you'd like to know, everybody has a VOM, which does concern me, and I want to point that out. Apparently, one of the reasons I was told in writing that we have this special email is because I was told that because people were concerned about being trolled and somehow being bothered by applicants or comments. There was on the application we've just been discussing over on Fenimore, I guess, not Fenimore, I'm sorry, Waverly. Is that, no, not Waverly, I'm sorry.
397
Yeah,
Palmer.
Palmer, I'm sorry. There's too many roads in the city. Well, there was a post closed hearing, and it was not apparently clear to the building department. We do not receive post-closing matters of any type. However, what I just wanted to point out was not only is it not proper, and we're not considering it, it's not part of the record, but it was anonymous. And apparently the individual who goes by a name that's anonymous apparently never uses his email and also calls anonymously. I think that that's something I would ask the village to look into, because this was all done to avoid this. We never had that occur before. And now emails are going that apparently from someone who's anonymous, and just want to point that out because I know a lot of us have had concerns about the VOM things. Other than that, I guess we have a meeting in April.
You're pushing Raleigh Road and 211 Mamaroneck until then for the discussion?
Hold on. We did Bolden, we did, oh, I'm sorry. I mean, we can, you want to take them up for 5 minutes each and see where we go with them quickly?
Yeah.
It's up to you. I think we could take Nona Corolla first. Is there any issue on that one?
Robin, you're muted.
Robin, speak.
Some of us know, remember back when other applications for the same site were here, and how when this came the first time, we were very concerned that they were going to have some of the same noise issues that Mickey Spillane's had. I know that's not the name, but that's always what I think of.
Molly.
So to me, there were nobody had any issues, and I think we should renew it. No questions, no problems.
I have no problems with extending the special permit on that, again, renewing it.
Agreed on my
Does
part.
anyone else? Meg?
Yeah, that's fine. Make
I
a
agree.
motion.
I agree.
Okay, is there a motion on that? Are the same conditions as in the last one?
Yeah, I'm moved to renew for 3 years, which is what they were asking
Right, okay.
for.
Your second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, call the roll. Meg,
Yes,
Greta, Brian,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay.
I
Brian,
do
thank you for pointing
memorializing
that.
resolution, Dave.
Yeah, you can go ahead and do a resolution on that, please, so we can file it, but it's approved. Okay, then the next was, sorry. Raleigh Road,
Correct.
all right, hold on, I'm sorry. 1346 Raleigh Road. Okay, that was the area variance, right? Don't have my full plans with me tonight, but Brian, you have any comments on this? You were kind enough to point this out.
You know, I have no problem with the proposal. I would just want to make sure that the covering for the staircase is, number one, not extending beyond the railing, so it would not increase the variance. But also that, that they ensure to include some kind of, I don't know, some kind of pitch on that covering, with the gutter system. Because the last thing I want, and not near the neighbor's property. That should have some, I don't see it on the plans. We didn't discuss it, but in looking at it now, I don't want water hitting that and going off onto the neighbor's property. I want, if it's pitched at all, it has to go into a gutter, which will be disposed of properly, where it's not going to cause an ice hazard in the winter or a nuisance to the neighbor.
Anyone else have any comments on this? Do you want to have a resolution drafted, or do you want to?
I remember I had some concern about why they were, it seemed to me that they were kind of, that they put the deck here. I mean, they could have just put stairs here rather than
Right,
a
side
deck.
deck.
And I hadn't really thought through why, but that was, it seemed to me, my question was why they have an entire deck here versus just stairs.
Well, because they said for egress purposes, they said that going down from that kitchen door, or no, I guess that's a living space door. The only way to get to their back patio would be to walk up the existing concrete path, which they felt was unsafe for their elderly parents and little children.
Right, but they could have just paved that. I mean, it wasn't smooth. I have to go look at it again, actually, which I did not look at it again. So we can have it, if somebody wants to propose a resolution, if we have a general view we
Right,
can propose it and look at something, and by then I'll have double checked, which I just don't remember the specifics of that, and I have to double check it.
All right. Greta,
Yeah, that's
you
fine.
want something drafted? Yes? Do you have a feeling that you're consistent with Robin in terms of that? And
Yeah,
Brian?
Yeah, let's draft something, and that also. will
Rob, are
give
you
Robin
okay with
time.
that? You have enough information? Meg, I'm not ignoring you, but since you won't be voting on it, so.
Yep, I can certainly draft an approval, and then we can talk about Robin's concerns at the next meeting.
Okay, very good. Okay, the next matter we have that's been closed is 1346 Raleigh, is that right? Sorry.
That was this.
That was what we just
That's
discussed.
what we just did, I'm sorry. So I'm looking for the,
The next matter is a motion to close.
no, you have to stay on, we're not gonna close. All right, so I'm sorry. I was looking at, unfortunately, the agenda I had was my fault, it just didn't print out correctly, so I didn't see that, but that's good. All right, everybody have a wonderful week, good times, and we're on for, when is the next meeting? It's in April, correct?
April 7th.
April 7th, fantastic. Now,
And just be advised, if we do an additional meeting, we are most likely going in person, so we will have to work around the schedule for the courtroom. So we will have to talk about
Okay.
that in advance.
I think we won't do one before the 7th, though. I think we'll
Okay.
do one.
Just to confirm, the 7th is in person, correct?
As of right now, we'll know for sure on the tomorrow. We're supposed to know for sure, but it looks like it.
Tomorrow's the 16th,
So
right?
we
Yeah.
have to wear a uniform, Brian. You know that. Right? It's the shirt and,
Matching outfits.
Tell them about the special hat for ZBA.
Actually, they haven't been ordered yet. They're coming in. They're going to be headphones this year. Keeping with the concept of breaking us in slowly from being, remotely to being financial.
With Mickey
I don't know if anyone
Mouse
else finds
with
that, but
Mickey
this-
Mouse ears or not? That's really the question.
Well, I'll just be honest, I find the transition back is really weird. It's like walk around the office, there's people around, and even on the trains and everything, it's sort of like, I'm very timid. I've noticed that. I get a little sick. Come on, we spent so much time, at least I spent so much time avoiding and this and, but now have a great time. All right, so the motion to close is,
It was a
Nope.
pleasure having you on the board, Meg.
Meg, yeah.
So
Yeah.
sorry to see you go.
Thank
May
you.
good luck to you in whatever your endeavors are, and hope all is well with you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you very
Matt.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are sorry to see
Thank
you
you.
go, very much
Your
so.
contribution was really valued.
You really
Thank you.
have a lot of knowledge.
I
Thank
want to add one thing to that and just say this. I happen to know Meg works. I mean, we all get stuck working on this at times, but Meg, you have a Herculean approach to this. You really are amazing in terms of the effort, the detail, and the work you do, and the process and the thought you put into it. It's very much appreciated, very
Thank you.
respected. Thank you. And all in favor of adjourning can now leave, but don't go home because you're there already. Okay. Okay. Good night, Brian. Good night, Chris.
Night,
Good night.
night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Thanks.